Hello everyone and welcome back to Tomorrow's Weather Today. Today I have a tropical update for you. There isn't anything in the tropics, but just an update to see if anything could develop in the next 2 weeks, according to the models. According to the NHE, there is nothing expected in the next 5 days for the Atlantic. Looking at the satellite loop for the Atlantic, we can see some interesting features. One being this lighter gray right here. This is actually dust coming off of Africa, and that will be evident on water vapor imagery. And if we go over to Mike's weather page, um, where is it? I know it's on here somewhere. Sorry, I'm just looking for it. I know there's something on here um, that shows the dust layer, or I thought there was. Um, I could just be missing it. It's probably on here somewhere. Let's see. Um, dust. No. Okay, so I thought it was on here, but apparently it's not right now. Um, but there is a lot of dust coming off of Africa over here. We can see an area of low pressure right in here. This was the Invest last week. This non-tropical area of low pressure right in here. You can see an area of cloudiness down here. This was a tropical wave that was designated by the NHC down here as a 10% chance of development. Obviously, it did not develop into anything, and they have since dropped it. We have X Cristobal up here still, and a big stationary front right now that is off the east coast. There's a chance. There's a chance that something develops down here um, off this front, and we will see that on the GFS that it's hinting at it, but unlikely. Looking at water vapor loop, we can see there's some upper level clouds, moisture down here, but you can see like that drier air right in here. Here's that low level. There's that low pressure system. There's another one up here. And the North Atlantic high is up here for right now, and that will be diving southward over time. Here's our front, and we're going to be watching this area. Going on the GFS model, precipitation, we can see in 6 hours that our low pressure system is all the way up here now, and we have a stationary front that's down here. You can see that low pressure area that I was talking about, and here's that tropical wave. Taking this ahead, our front is still, it's still like, it's back here now, but we can see the GFS tries to hint at 2 areas of low pressure forming, but nothing really developing out of that. And then this high pressure system, you can see it up here, dives southwards and takes control over the North Atlantic. We can see some tropical waves trying to get going down here in the southern Atlantic, but nothing seems to form according to the GFS. Looking at the relative humidity, we can see that area of dust right in here. That's with the dust coming off of Africa, and we're going to possibly see another burst of it coming off sometime next week. And we can see that travel into the Caribbean, and then another one's behind it. And then this area pretty much stays dry for most of the run. Looking at the shear for the next 2 weeks, according to GFS, it's looking pretty high over the MDR, but we don't expect to see anything in the MDR. We expect to see stuff down in the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic. We can see shear increases for the southwestern Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean over time. If we take an area sounding for the Caribbean, I think we should, no, too big of a sounding. Take a smaller one. Uh, 30 knots of shear. That's pretty high. So nothing's gonna get going down there at this very moment. Shears a lot over the MDR and the Gulf of Mexico, and the Western Atlantic as an upper level trough seems to move into the east coast. And once again, shear steadily increases and stays for most of the GFS run. Looking at 200 millibar winds just so you can visualize this easier. You can see our trough here, our high pressure here, another trough. This is an upper level low actually. Got a high pressure system here and another one here. We can see this trough come into the eastern United States, which brings the shear up for the Gulf of Mexico and the southwestern Atlantic. And that westerly stays mostly throughout the Gulf of Mexico. With this, there's an upper level trough here that seems to move into the southwest Atlantic or southwest eastern United States. And then an upper level ridge is over Mexico, which brings northerlies down on the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. Then an upper level trough will bring upper level winds to the MDR. Looking at the mean sea level pressure, where it's below average or above average, you can see the MDR is below, while the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico is above. The GFS a few days ago was hinting at something trying to develop down here, but that doesn't look to be no more, as pressures are around average to above average for most of the time. The Eastern Pacific seems like it's going to start to get going soon with a few systems that might try to develop. And we could take a look at that really quickly, even though I don't really cover the Eastern Pacific, but we can definitely take a look at it really quickly. We do have an area of interest out here. It doesn't look like it's going to develop, especially from the GFS. You can see something trying to get going there, and then this area looks like it's going to try to consolidate into maybe two systems. But last run, this was much more active. So I think the signs for the Eastern Pacific are going to start lighting up, and then once this dies down again, the Atlantic will prop up again. Looking at our ocean analysis, we can see that our Nino region, it hit a low point back in May, and then it spiked, and now it's dropping again. It should stay neutral to cooler throughout the summer, and then towards September and October, dip back down into La Nina. And we can see that area of coolness right in here. That is our Nino region, and that's where we could see a La Nina develop. Looking at the North Atlantic sea surface temperature anomalies, the Gulf is a little cool still from Cristobal, but again, most of the Atlantic is warm, especially the Caribbean and the MDR, and a little bit is above average. The Gulf Stream looks to be above average, which runs right in there, but otherwise the southwestern Atlantic looks to be below normal. That is it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a new video. Thank you all for watching.